Hey yo guys, what's going on? This is xVFRoSTeDVx here, bringing you another X and Y narrative Wi-Fi battle. This was a battle I had against Goldtiger on my live stream last week. It was a UU tier match, and this turned out to be a very close game, in fact. Getting straight to the team preview, I didn't really have a team plan going into this. I kind of just threw 6 Pokemon together because he wanted to play a UU match, and I had like all OU pokes, so I just threw 6 of them together and hoped they worked together. And it kind of proved costly because he has a very scary team. Just look at his threats: Chandelure, Magnetric, Chestnut, Jellicent. Oh my god. But anyways, we'll see what happens. Let's get straight to the match, shall we? So during the team preview, I wasn't actually sure what he was going to lead off with, so I decided to go off with my regular lead, which turns out to be my Jirachi, and he leads off with a Jellicent. I'm like thinking to myself, what can Jellicent do to me? Probably Shadow Ball, but I decided to go for the Doom Desire anyway, and this proves to actually be useful later on. So he actually ends up burning me with the Will-O-Wisp, which is not that bad. I'd rather have Jirachi burned than, you know, like other things burned. But anyways, I decided to switch out Jirachi, go into my special wall, which my Amoonguss, and he decides to go for the Scald, which, because I'm specially defensive, does absolutely nothing. And luckily he doesn't get a burn, and I just recovered most of that off with the Blood Sludge, forcing him to switch out. I decided to go for the Giga Drain just to see what he would do. He ends up going out into his Chestnut, which I'm glad I didn't go for the Sludge Bomb, because the Sludge Bomb is blocked by his ability, Bulletproof. And I know this, so he takes the Doom Desire attack from my Jirachi, which, look at that damage! Oh my lord, Jirachi, you're so strong. And I decided to stay in as my opponent decides to switch out his Chestnut, and he decides to go into his Chandelure as I go for the Clear Smog, because again, I know about the Bulletproof ability. I didn't go for the Sludge Bomb, which kind of proves costly. I should have seen the switch coming, but I didn't, so I'm forced to switch out, and I think he's going to go for the Fire Blast. This is why I decided to go out to my Rotom as he pulls a Substitute. So this confirms to me that he's not a Choice Specs variant, but even more threatening, he's a Substitute variant. So look at that damage he did on my Rotom. That did clearly 3/4 of HP, as I'm forced to go for the only move I can possibly go for, which is the Volt Switch. So after I Volt Switched, I was just looking at my team, and I saw the best switch I had to go into was my Kabutops, and I decided to go straight for the Stone Edge, predicting him to go and switch out into his Jellicent, which actually turns out to be really rewarding, because I'm able to actually hit this Jellicent for some decent damage. I'm saying like 30-40%. But unfortunately for me, he gets the Curse Body Hacks, and he gets my Stone Edge. The only attacking move I really have to hit him with at this time is the Aqua Jet, so I can't really do anything to it. So I decide to switch out, and I go out into my Suicune, as he actually pulls a double and pulls a switch out into his Chandelure. And this isn't a bad switch, because, you know, I felt confident about this. But unfortunately, I forgot that Jellicent actually has the Curse Body, not the Water Absorb, and I was afraid that he might switch back into the Jellicent to get the Water Absorb. So I decided to pull a switch out to my Rotom, predicting the Jellicent to come in, and I allowed this thing to get another Substitute on me. And that was really bad, because now I'm forced to fodder off my Rotom here, which absolutely sucks, because I could have used this later on against the Magnetric. So after I lost my Rotom here, I decided to go back into my Suicune, because now I know that the Jellicent does not have the Water Absorb, it actually has the Curse Body, so I decided to go into my Suicune and go straight for the Scald, as the Chandelure actually reveals the Pain Split to me, which is absolutely awful, because not only has he had a very decent amount of HP, but he's still behind a Substitute, so I'm forced to break the Substitute. I do break the Substitute, obviously, because it's super effective and whatnot. I had no reason to switch out here. I just kept on going for the Scald, because this thing is a massive threat to my team. I have nothing to really take a hit from it now. He does go for the Shadow Ball. My Suicune toughs it out and actually lives with 23 HP. I'm able to get the Scald off, and he lives. So now I'm forced to like switch into something to take a hit. So I decided to go and pull a switch out to my Amoonguss, my specially defensive Amoonguss, because I knew he was not going to go for the fire attack at that low amount of HP, and my Suicune was at a low amount of HP too. So the Pain Split wouldn't be too beneficial for it. So luckily I got my prediction correct. I switched into my Amoonguss, and my the Chandelure ends up going for the Shadow Ball, which my Amoonguss can brush off because of the Regenerator ability it has. So he decides to pull a switch out into his Manetric here, and I expected him to go for the Flamethrower / Overheat, so I decided to pull a switch into my Darmanitan just to see if he goes for the Overheat, because if he does go for the Overheat, this would put me in a very excellent position and gain momentum on whatever he decided to bring in. Unfortunately, he does go for the Volt Switch, which does hell of a lot of damage to my Darmanitan, and yeah, 2/3 of the HP gone from Darmanitan because of an over prediction on my end. So he brings out the Jellicent again, and I can't do anything to this thing, so I'm forced to go ahead and go straight for the U-turn. And after the U-turn, I decided to go ahead and bring out my Amoonguss, my specially defensive wall, because it's the only thing I really have that could stand up to Jellicent and pretty much stall it out. Yeah, so I do go on to my Amoonguss. He actually predicts this and go for the Will-O-Wisp. I wouldn't blame him, because like that was such a painfully obvious switch, and I couldn't really help it because, again, Darmanitan can't really do too much to Jellicent anyways. So after I switched into my Amoonguss, I decided to go straight for the Spore, and this was a really terrible play because the switch into Chestnut was so blatantly obvious, but I just, in the back of my mind, thought I killed this thing already, and I didn't, so I ended up going for the Spore, which is really stupid on my end, because I could have just went for the Clear Smog right there and actually did some pretty decent damage to this Chestnut, or just go straight for the Giga Drain. Giga Drain was actually the safest play I could have went for, but unfortunately I didn't go for that. He decides to go for the Leech Seed, expecting me to switch out. I decided to go for straight for this Clear Smog, and that looks to be a 2-hit KO from where the range of HP that he was in, and I went ahead and went straight for the Clear Smog again, and my opponent decides to pull another switch out into his Manetric, which actually turns out to be a very good play on my opponent's part, because he saw no reason for me to go for any other move other than the Clear Smog, and this forces my Amoonguss to actually stay in, because I got nothing to come in on this Manetric, because my Suicune's at a very low amount of HP, my Darmanitan's at a low amount of HP, and I don't want him predicting me again to go for the Volt Switch, and leaving me at a very low amount of HP. So knowing that, he decides to go straight for the Overheat, and this does so much damage, but luckily for me, Amoonguss hangs on with an epic 7 HP, and I'm able to get a Giga Drain off to save myself from dying from the burn, which is amazing. So I can actually build off my Amoonguss's HP because of the Regenerator ability. Since he has -2, I decide to go ahead and pull a switch and take advantage of this and go straight out into my Jirachi, because I know he's not going to go straight for another Overheat, and even if he did, I can take it because it's a -2. I decided to go straight for the Psyshock, predicting him to go for the Volt Switch, predicting me to go for the Doom Desire. So he does go and pull a switch out into his Jellicent, which I predicted, and go straight for the Choice Specs Modest Psyshock, which does absolutely a lot of damage. And all I need him to do is stay in and take another hit. He has nothing to come in on a Psychic type move other than the Scrafty, and I'm guessing he was predicting me to predict him to go into his Scrafty, so I get the other Psyshock off, and I end up killing the Jellicent, which is excellent. So this was actually a roadblock to my Suicune is now gone, so whenever I can get a rest off, which I'm going to plan on doing it against the Chestnut, because Chestnut is actually very slow, and he hasn't revealed any other move towards me other than the Leech Seed. I switch out to my Amoonguss because I'm locked into Psyshock on my Jirachi, and he decides to go for the Dragon Dance, which is just fine. I switch into my Amoonguss not only to get the Regenerator ability up, just in case he doesn't go for the Fighting type move, I want to be able to resist it. So I'm forced to switch right back out. I decide to fodder off my Jirachi here because it did enough work as it is. And yeah, my Jirachi goes down, which is perfectly fine. So what I do is I decide to go out into my Kabutops, because my Kabutops has a very interesting set. It's actually an Endure weakness policy set. So what happens is I set up Endure, I have weak armor, so yes, I lose defense, but I gain speed on top of it. I'm a Jolly Max Speed Kabutops. So once I lose this defense, I go speed up, so I'm actually faster than the Scrafty, and my weakness policy kicks in, so now my attacks are +2 and I outspeed. So I go straight for the Flail, and that straight up OHKOs the Scrafty, and I'm like, oh my god, I can sweep this man's team with this Kabutops. He decides to bring out the Chestnut. I decide to go for the Endure again, predicting him to go for the Spiky Shield, as that's exactly what happens. And right here, I made a terrible misplay. I went for the Aqua Jet, overestimating this Kabutops' power since it was +2 stabbed, 125 base attack. I thought it would kill from that range. Unfortunately, I was wrong, and I lose my Kabutops and any chance I had to sweep this man's team with it. So that was very, very unfortunate on my end. So after I lost my Kabutops on the very, very bad misplay I did, I decided to pull a switch out into the Suicune, and I decided to go ahead and pull a rest here because I know this thing is slower than I am, and I do know that this thing carries the Wood Hammer, but I didn't think the Wood Hammer would actually take me out. So he decides to go ahead and pull a Leech Seed, and I'm perfectly okay with this because the next turn I decided to go ahead and pull a switch out into my Amoonguss, because Amoonguss, after he revealed the Wood Hammer, I know that he has nothing to take on my Amoonguss, and I have the Clear Smog that consistently whittled the thing down, whittle the chestnut down. So I decided to pull a switch out to my Amoonguss. He does go for the Wood Hammer, which I kind of expected him to go for. And this next turn, I did not expect him to go ahead and switch out to the Rhyperior, because again, I wasn't really paying attention too much to the team preview. I almost forgot that he even had a Rhyperior at the time. So I decided to go straight for the Clear Smog, thinking that he'd just stay in, and unfortunately I'm wrong. He goes right out into the Rhyperior, and at this point I didn't really know what to do at this point. So I go for the Clear Smog. It didn't do nothing, and I'm thinking to myself, I have nothing really switch into this thing. This thing is like super strong. It's got like 135 base attack, and my Amoonguss is at a very low amount of HP. I'm specially defensive, and I got nothing to switch into. So all I did was click the Giga Drain and hope for the best. As he does go for the Rock Blast, he gets 1, 2, and luckily for me it was only a 2 hit, so I'm able to get a Giga Drain off, which is a nice clean 55%, and it brings me out enough HP so I can take another Rock Blast as long as it's a 2 hit, and maybe if it was a 3rd hit I could probably take a 3rd hit as well. So it really all came down to this: can I actually take this Rock Blast? There's 1, there's 2, and luckily for me he gets haxed again. It only gets 2, and I'm able to get the second Giga Drain off, and I'm able to take out his Rhyperior, which actually kind of clinched a victory for me. So I take out the Rhyperior, and I believe he decides to go ahead and pull out his Manectric again. And during that turn, he decides to go straight for the HP Ice because he saw no reason for himself to go for the Overheat to get himself the -2. So he goes and kills off my Manectric with the HP Ice. Again, I had nothing to safely switch into this thing. I couldn't switch in Suicune just in case he went for the Thunderbolt. I couldn't switch into Darmanitan just in case he, again, went for the Volt Switch or something. So I decided to go into my Scarf Darmanitan, able to outrun the Manectric, and I take out the Manectric, which is absolutely perfect because now his last Pokemon turns out to be the Chestnut. And here is where I actually won the game straight off of hacks. He decides to go for the Spiky Shield, and that's the first shield that's always guaranteed to work on the first time. I go for the Flare Blitz, and yeah, I'm at 21 amounts of HP. And it really came down to this: can he pull the second Spiky Shield? This came out to a 50-50 chance, and unfortunately for him, he didn't get the second Spiky Shield, and this caused me to have my Darmanitan hit him up with the Flare Blitz and take out his Chestnut along with my own Darmanitan, with the last Pokemon being on my side was a Suicune sleeping in the background. And if it was sleeping with the skull, the sleep talk and whatnot, and he has the Wood Hammer, I mean, he probably would have ended up killing himself to recoil, but it was unfortunate on his side. Really, really close and fun game, Goldtiger. I had a lot of fun this match. If you guys did too, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitch. I normally stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and over the weekend. Like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, and until next time, guys, xVFRoSTED signing out. Later, guys.